Now, at this point, I will just say, if you haven't seen this movie yet, just don't even watch the review. Watch the movie. It's currently on HBO Max. I think it's still in some theaters somewhere, but 100% do not continue with this review unless you've already seen Barbarian. Hello and welcome to Blockbuster Video. If you don't know what that is where I play a single game of Tetris Marathon and try to review a film before the blocks reach the top or till 150 lines. And spoiler alert, is at line 50. I think that's semi-important for this particular movie. So Barbarian came out recently, and it is a horror movie that I was told by several people, not directly, but through the internet, posting and whatnot, that it is a horror film that you should go in with absolutely no idea what's going on. And I did my absolute darndest. I did know about some of the actors that were in it, thanks to some spoilery people, but I mostly went in not having any idea what the movie was about. I did know that it started out with two people who got scheduled for the same Airbnb, and were pissed about that and trying to figure out what to do. But I knew it was also a scary movie, and I was also told it was rad. Now, at this point, I will just say, if you haven't seen this movie yet, just don't even watch the review. Watch the movie. It's currently on HBO Max. I think it's still in some theaters somewhere, but 100% do not continue with this review unless you've already seen Barbarian. So Barbarian starts with this character, Tess. She's coming into Detroit, and a really rough area of Detroit, to the mentioned Airbnb, where she finds out that it has already been rented out to Keith, played by Skarsgård. The Skarsgård that played Pennywise the Dancing Clown, which is immediately off-putting. I feel sorry for that dude, because it's like, you're going to be Pennywise the Dancing Clown for a very long time, and I'm sorry. Whoa, what happened there? What happened there? Did I just... Oh, wow, okay. Anyway, you know, it's awkward, as that situation would be, and I was like, okay, so is Keith the guy? And I think that's what the movie tries to do, because the movie also knows that Keith is played by the same guy who was Pennywise the Dancing Clown in the recent It. So he... I also want to get his name right. Bill Skarsgård. So they, I'm getting to spoiler territory, which is good. So they work it out. They end up sleeping in the same room, and then subtle weird things start happening. Subtle, very slow burn material. And I'm like, okay, and I honestly said this to my roommates as we were watching it. I was like, I need something to happen. Not because I was getting bored, but because the tension was high. Tess is there because she's there for an interview. We find out Keith is actually a pretty big deal in the Detroit community. She goes on her interview. She comes back. She accidentally gets locked in the basement, and when she gets locked in the basement, she finds herself a you know, just your classic basement torture chamber. And so she's like, hey, it's see you later time, like any smart person would. It's see you later time. And Keith, being the dude that he is like, well, I didn't see it. So how about you let me go down, I'll take a look, and you're just up here to make sure that the door doesn't lock behind me like it did you, which caused you to be so scared out of your mind and demanding we leave, and I'm not listening, because of course not. Suffice it to say, something's down there, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, because it's just rad. Watch the movie. But then, after the big reveal of what it is, it cuts to spoiler, Justin Long, who is just a douchebag actor who's upset that his pilot is not going forward with him because he's been accused of a little, you know, sexual assault, rape, and he's not happy about it. And of course, you know, his career and him and his life, and then he reveals to a friend at a party later in the movie that's like, okay, maybe she needed some convincing. If you say that phrase, gentlemen, if you say the phrase she needed convincing, go fuck yourself. But he ends up being the owner of this property. And no one has been in the house since the events that we saw with Tess and Keith. So he goes in and he starts investigating. And this is one of the things I loved about this movie. It's a thing where... Oh, shit. Ooh, boy. Oh, boy. I want to keep talking about this movie. It's one of those things where all the characters have so little to do with each other, and they're just existing in their world, and then they get thrust into this, like, fantastical thing. And fucking Justin Long is just, like, out of nowhere now involved in this absolutely batshit thing. Tess shows back up. I'm not going to reveal what happens to Keith. I mean, you can probably read between the lines. And as the story goes on, more things get revealed and more crazy cool shit happens. And more of the character of Justin Long gets revealed with some of the decisions he makes. And the bravery of Tess. And also the inability for the Detroit Police Department to do anything. I think the real villain of this piece was the Detroit Police Department, as absolutely horrendous things happen on their watch, and their reactions to it is not appropriate. Now, of course, you know, we can talk about police funding and we can talk about the countless problems that have nothing to do with reviewing a movie. But I will say, watching this film, I walked away with a greater appreciation for men and women in uniform that listen to people when they're talking to them. Anyway, the movie is awesome. It's such a good movie to go in knowing absolutely nothing about it, because it really, like, so many movies nowadays are just spoiled immediately when you see a trailer. And since this one kind of was just making the rounds going, go see it. Don't look anything up, just go see it. I was like, yeah, this is rad. This is worth it. This is worth my time. I'm glad it was finally on HBO Max, so I could watch it at home, because I'm not a huge fan of scurry movies. And this one was just good stuff. Good stuff top to bottom. Cannot recommend it enough. And the craziest thing about it, besides really interesting implications about how we interact with each other, the things that we kind of prejudices, I'd say. There's a little bit of that in here where where you kind of have to deal with your own way you perceive a situation, as well as, well, we understand that there's this horrendously insane horror thing happening, but to someone who doesn't know, this just sounds like a crazy person, and they would maybe react like this. But the craziest thing, absolutely craziest thing, is this film was written and directed by a gentleman named, I wanted to get his name, I lost it all of a sudden, Zach Kreger. It's Zach Kreger who dropped Barbarian on us, and it's a great movie, was an original member of The Whitest Kids You Know. And that filled me with so much joy. That's it for this review. Watch it on HBO Max. It's awesome. Peace.